Hello! I decided instead of just showing you a video of me making bagels, I'd share the recipe so you can make them too. I have only made yeast bread 3 times, and this was my first time ever making bagels, and they came out really well. So have confidence that they should probably come out well for you too. I used flour, and I used bread flour, but the recipe calls for all-purpose, so either would be fine. I used 4 cups of flour. I used 1 teaspoon of salt and a half teaspoon of active yeast. I put that together in a food processor and I pulsed it just with a regular blade to mix up all of the dry ingredients. And then in a separate bowl, I mixed lukewarm water, 1¼ cups, and a tablespoon of honey. It calls for barley malt syrup. I don't have that. She said honey is fine, and honey worked perfectly well. So yeah, I take my lukewarm water and I mix the honey in, and once that is well whisked in, you add that to your dry ingredients in the food processor, and again, just with a normal blade, you hit puree if you have that setting, or blend, and you puree it for 90 seconds, and this will combine your dough for you. When it comes out, it could be sticky depending on what flour you use and if you use honey or something else. So you can lightly oil your hands and go ahead and take the dough out and put it into a clean bowl. And you want to form it into a ball, so you can do that by stretching up and out and just very lightly working it into a ball. You don't want to touch it too much. And then to keep a crust from forming while the dough sits, you will rub a little bit of oil, just like you did on your hands, on the outside of the dough, and this will keep it nice and soft. You cover it with cling wrap and put it in your refrigerator for at least 12 hours. The next day, or 12 hours later, however you plan to do it, you want to start first thing by filling the pot with water and adding a 1/4 cup of honey and bringing that to a boil. So just a big pot of water and a 1/4 cup of honey, and you bring that to a boil. While you're doing that, you can go ahead and take your dough out and put it on a floured surface and divide it into 8. I used a scale, and to get 8 even balls, that gave me 120 grams per lump of dough. But the recipe author, had 110 to 115, so somewhere in the 110 to 120 range. The point is to have them all be even. And once they're in the little balls, you can go through and round them out a little bit. She says to create tension in the dough. Honestly, I'm not exactly sure what that means, so I just made them a little bit tight and made sure they were nice and round without working the dough too much, because that will make the bread a little chewy and tough. So make nice little balls, and once they're all in their balls, you take your thumb and poke a hole in the middle. Now, if you were to just cook them like this, they would puff up into cones, and they wouldn't really be bagels. So you poke the hole in the middle, and then you pull some of the dough up and out. And that will help them keep their shape. When I say up and out, it's almost like you're going to turn the bagel inside out, but you don't quite go that far. So you just kind of stretch the dough up and out into a nice tight little ring so that it doesn't puff up into a cone. Once you've done that with all of your bagels, your water should be boiling. Go ahead and get a pan out and put a tea towel on it for the bagels to rest on once they come out of the pot. And then with a slotted spoon, place your first bagel in the boiling water-honey mixture. You'll let them boil on each side for 30 seconds. So you put it in, boil for 30 seconds, flip it over another 30, and then you can put it on the towel and do the next one. You'll see I get a little impatient and I do 2 at a time for a couple, but one at a time is what the recipe calls for. So you'll go ahead and do that 30 seconds each side per bagel for all 8 of them. Once that's done, you can take your pot off the burner. You don't need the water anymore, and you will transfer your bagels to a lined baking sheet where you will brush them with an egg wash. And an egg wash is just 1 egg and a tablespoon of water, and you whisk it up and you lightly brush it on top, and that will help create a chewy crust and a nice pretty shine. And after that, if you want to go through and add seasoning, you can. I left about half of them plain, and I made half of them everything bagels. You can go ahead and put them in your oven, and you will cook them at 450 for 20 to 25 minutes. I did 22, checked them, and ended up adding 1 more minute. You just want them to be nice and evenly golden brown on the outside. you can go ahead and take your bagels out and you'll let them cool completely on the baking sheet. I hope you are able to make these bagels if you so desire, and that it goes just as well for you as it did for me. And if it's not, I hope you at least have fun, because that's really what it is all about.